My name is Selma Selman. I'm an artist and activist and educator. I was born and raised in Bosnia, and currently I live between Amsterdam, New York, and Bosnia. In my work, I use many mediums, from painting to photography to installations and writing. For me, art serves as a tool where I can use it to kind of question my own limits, but limits also of the challenges that I'm surrounded with. And I think regardless of any circumstances, art is a power. And artist has the power and big role in the society in changing some things that we personally think is not right. For this occasion, I did a bunch of the works which are works which I did in the last few years, actually, from 2019 until 2021. And particularly, we focus on the works on the metal, but also performances and video performances. The title, The Most Dangerous Woman, was also a very challenging title for me because I didn't know how people will react if I tell them that I'm the most dangerous woman. At the same time, I'm also asking myself, can this title only be related to me? But can it also be related to someone else, to some other women? And I think yes, because I think I'm not alone in this collective fight. And to be dangerous woman in the world means that you are not silenced, that you raise your voice, that you want to change, that you want to be in the power of your own body, in the power of your own thoughts. And that's what I did. Growing up in a Roma settlement for me was very challenging. And as a child, you're confronted with many obstacles and discrimination. And I think in this case, I don't think so it is important to talk about particular examples of the discrimination. The most important thing is that I accepted myself when I was at very young age, so I never had a problem with me. I think other people had problem with me. But then I found a way, how do I find a place to myself in this world? And I did that by getting educated, and I knew that education is a tool, and it is the path and the power which is going to lead me to become an independent woman. And once you become an independent woman who can take care of herself, then you become a danger to the society, because you might have a lot of women, girls who will follow you, which means that you might change something, and that's the danger for people. And within this show, we also showed an examples of these danger. For example, in the video You Have No Idea, which I did in 2019, actually in 2020 for the election day in the United States, I found myself in this dangerous position where I was asking myself, do I have right to intervene on such an occasion? And I found that this is a specific time in the history where my body and my voice can be heard. So what I was saying there, you have no idea, can be directly related to the audiences that were confronting me, but it's also very personal because I was talking about the danger I'm coming from, right? So I think these performances can be viewed in many different ways. And regardless how personal it is, it's also somehow collective. And then there are many other works, the video works, smashing the washing machine or dismantling the Mercedeses. I think the reason why I destroyed the Mercedes, actually destroying is not the good word. I would say dismantling and doing the surgery. So I got invitation from Crafts Festival in Hamburg to do performance. And then I had a call with my father and I asked him, what do I do next? like what would be the best thing to do. And then he told me, you should destroy Mercedes. And I was like, okay, let me try. I'm not sure that the festival is going to buy me Mercedes, right? But somehow through negotiation with the director, we managed to get the Mercedes. But then I asked my father and my brother and the cousin to be part of my work, and they accepted it. And I think for them, being part for the first time, being part of my performance in the public space meant really a lot.
They live without government help. This integration of art and labor, and my family's labor and survival, extends to the further collaboration. It is useful when the value system practices, like vast economy. In the work, self-portrait,
because the work, the labor they do at home, it's similar to the one you see at the videos, but it has another concept. It has another priorities. It's recycled. It is something that they use to survive. It is similar also how I use this act of destroying something. It becomes survival for me, but also somehow the transformation of that space and the values of the objects becomes very important in terms of the art world. So what I'm doing in these performances with the destroying, dismantling, and doing the surgery with the object is just changing the position and making another transition of the objects. Thinking more about the metal and the beauty actually of these objects, which could be kind of rejected because they don't have so much value as they have value when they become art objects. And I was thinking, like, everything what happened with my life was similar like those objects. For example, these objects here, when you see them on the street, they are not important because, of course, you can recycle them, but they don't have any other meaning to the people. But once you take it, you intervene on them and you give them the value, you position them, then they become more important. So that's how I did also with my life. I gave myself value and I created myself. On my paintings on metal, I paint everyday life scenes. I write on them. I make my own narratives from my life. I recreate them. And I really enjoy painting on the metal. It becomes my safe zone somehow, where I feel the most comfortable. And the reason why I'm using the metal is a similar story as the story of destroying the Mercedes. I'm doing the same, just transforming the places. Transformation of these objects for me is very important, and I really appreciate when people like them and they find something in them, which means that they are not traditional paintings on the canvas, but they're somehow objects which had the history but now will have another future as well. For me, the metal, working with the scrap metal, doing the alchemy with the metal is very performative. You don't see this performance like now here, but they all had some history. I actually know exactly where I took each part from. So for me, like, that's very important, but it's not so much visible in the presentation of my work. But that's why I write on them, and sometimes I also through writing to Omer, the letters that I write, I explain each object, how I found it, and why I did this particular painting, or why I wrote some statement. With these paintings on metal, I'm trying to make the equality between all of us. When you think about the past, or when you think about the history or of the science, how the metal came on Earth, 300 million years ago, meteor strike hit the Earth and created the entire metal on Earth. Even we humans, we have iron in ourselves. Then somehow we are all equal to each other. with the metal, because we all use it, from phones to forks. Everyone uses metal. And I think this is the most beautiful thing in my work, that somehow you don't see this equality, only you have to think about that, and then you can realize that we're all equal. I really like to connect myself to superposition, quantum physics, because quantum physics really explained very well how we exist in a past, present, and the future. And when I connect that symbolically with my own identity, then we have this transaction of all identities, which means that I'm not only Roma, neither Bosnian, neither American. I am superpositionally part of many other identities. It's like a bubble of many things. And I'm not the only one. All of us are part of many more identities. And I don't have a boyfriend. I'm single. If someone wants, please. Yeah, that's how I created Omer. Omer is actually a perfect man. But because he's he's a robot now. And he just got this surgery, so he got a robot heart. And he has 5 children. And he got the last daughter named Zlata. And I live in Jordan. And when I cry, my tears becomes knives. So I was advised by my doctors not to cry because I'm hurting myself. So I cannot cry anymore. And that's why I constantly tell him, I'm writing to him not to make me sad. And there is like one story also that since he became a robot, he doesn't have any emotions anymore. So he's constantly fine. And I'm always kind of having to fight for him, but also for myself. And Omer is this guy who represents the society in which we live. He's patriarchy, he's capitalism, he's everything. All the problems, but also the all beauty in the world. So that's why I write letters to Omer. It's like a science fiction, and I invent all the characters. In one story, Nikola Tesla is my lover. In another story, Frida Kahlo and Artemisa are my best friends. I have the pets, dogs who speak German language. I have kids who are birds. So it's just like a story, which is very interesting when you really read all these letters. But at the same time, I realized that I started to live in that story, and I really like the world I created for myself. My name is Selma Selman. But on addition of my name and surname, I got another title, which is Selma Selman is Tito. And there were like a group of people who make graffitis in my city writing this. And the reason why people gave me this title is because they believe that I have this power to change the nation. And I'm like, it's really hard to be Tito. And then I created another painting which is saying, I just want to go to LA, I don't want to be Tito, because of this heaviness you have, on your back, that you have constantly to be a role model, you constantly have to be a good daughter, you constantly have to kind of fight. And sometimes in my life I also get tired of fighting, but at the same time I know that my fight is good. And that's why people call me Tito, because of the possibility to give a hope to someone or directly to change someone's life. And that happened because I started directly to work with my community, working especially with the young girls from my village, supporting them financially, like mentoring them, being someone to them. I think it is very important to give someone just a hand and they can do all the job by themselves. I don't paint only because I have this need to paint. I paint because I have a reason to paint. I think that some life experience has to be kind of mapped, painted, and so people remember them and they going to become a history. So I wanted my mom to become a history because she's very important woman in my life, not only as a mother but also as a friend and also art critique. And I think he's bigger artist than I am because she always has the best ideas. And I remember when I started painting this big painting, Don't Be Like Me, she also painted with me. It was a very funny experience because she also had to pose for me, but I also had to use these apps because I wanted to make my mom very young and I wanted to make myself very old. So we changed these roles between who is mother and who is daughter. And at the same time, I wanted to give this role to my mother as a progressive mother, regardless of, education. Like she never went to school, neither she knows how to write, but she knows how to count, especially with the money. And I think for me, she's the most progressive woman because, she told me at one point in my life, when you grow up, don't end up being like me. And that's the advice which really changed my life because, okay, I realized I'm not going to be like you, but I will be strong as you. And that's why I painted us together, to give us these strong bodies, because the painting is this way that we're 3 times bigger than we are in a physical reality. And I wanted us to look at someone who you have to appreciate when you look at the painting. And another painting, which is also dedicated to my mother, which is called I'm Lady Like My Mother, comes from this story, Don't Be Like Me, and the relationship I have with my mother, that regardless of these circumstances she lived and that she never had the opportunity to become someone, to become independent woman, she had only 2 roles in her life, to become a wife and to become a mother. But regardless of all these circumstances, she's always a lady for me. And I said, I want to be a lady like my mother, because you don't have to drink champagne and to wear nice clothes to be a lady. You can just be yourself and still be a lady.